Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Scott Conklin. I'm the director of admissions at Episcopal High School, and I'm here with our head wrestling coach, Steve Castle, and two of his wrestlers, Nick Carosi and Clay Saylor. And we're excited to learn more about our wrestling program at Episcopal. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Coach Castle and the players to introduce themselves.
All right, as Coach Conklin mentioned, my name's Steve Castle, and I'm the head wrestling coach here at Episcopal High School. I've been at Episcopal, this is now my 33rd year at Episcopal and my 29th year as the head wrestling coach. In addition to being the head wrestling coach, I also teach physics, am a member of the varsity football coaching staff, and one of the 12th grade deans. My connection with wrestling started with wrestling in high school and then 4 years intercollegiately at Washington and Lee University. And so now I'll kick it over to Clay and Nick and themselves.
My name is Clay Saylor. I'm a senior at Episcopal High School, and I'm from Haymarket, Virginia. And I've been a part of the wrestling program since freshman year.
Hi, I'm Nick Carosi. I'm a junior here at Episcopal. This is my third year in the varsity wrestling team. And I started wrestling when I was in kindergarten. And other than wrestling, I've been a member of the varsity football team, and I'm a prefect.
Great. Lots of wrestling experience with this group. Coach, can you talk a little bit about some of the highlights of your program?
So in terms of highlights of the program, I mean, obviously there are accomplishments of the various teams that we've had over the years, and I've got real pride in the fact that in my time at Episcopal, runners up, several numerous out of this. I've had any wrestlers to do. I'm still coming here to me out. Some really nice success. In terms of something I'm strong about is this is a program that makes people are for people are coming in applications to place in state and qualify for the national tournament, college. I think we can meet the needs of those wrestlers. For people who are wrestling for the very first time, I think we've got a place for those wrestlers that don't have places. I have great fans over the years. We've had lots of people start their careers at Episcopal and then in state and fall to the national tournament. So I really do feel like a program that I can say people are just out, I think, at the high level. One of the reasons we're able to do that is that the wrestlers and our league team really do a good job paying it forward. To get mentored as freshmen and sophomores and the opportunity to change the team or take on leadership roles and teach. And I think that is part of the program that went out of where our older wrestlers really take responsibility for learning and experience young programs of varsity and JV. They practice together in the same school at the same time, and at times we're working on, but oftentimes we're pairing our experience that that's the way everybody learns fastest. Our older wrestlers, when of wrestlers with high aspirations, I can make sure that we're scheduling a really challenging set of meets and tournaments for them. And then maybe when I have a younger team or when I have younger members of the team, I can make sure that they're getting the appropriate events as well. So that's sort of an overview of our program. Coach Conklin, what did I miss? What other questions would you like me to answer?
Do you want to show a few of the slides of the facilities, Coach?
Sure. We're very lucky. Hershey Athletic. You can see a single mat, but we actually, when we flip that mat over, we've got two side-by-side circles. So we can actually host a quad meet in our wrestling room, and we can do that without moving any mats. And this is a dedicated wrestling facility. So our wrestlers aren't having to roll up or roll out mats at the end of practice. You know, we put the mats down at the start of the year and leave them down. So, you know, in the fall and in the spring, our wrestlers are able to get access to the wrestling mats, and we actually have a set of stands right in there, so we're able to compete in the facility. We are really, really fortunate to have, I think, one of the nicest wrestling facilities of any of the schools against whom we compete. And then we also have, in the same building, we have a weight room, and we throughout the season we make every effort to get 2 strength workouts every week, and so we actually take practice time to go up to the fitness center and go up to the weight room, and our strength and conditioning coaches run the wrestlers through a wrestling specific workout. It's not a generic workout they do for all teams. I tell the strength coaches what we're looking for, and they create a workout around that.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Got a couple questions for the players, or not players, your wrestlers, for Nick and Clay. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be a wrestler at Episcopal High School? Some of the highlights for you guys.
Yeah, well, I think first thing is we all have that mentality going to practice that we're going to push each other to get better each day. And none of us are showing up to practice late. We make an effort to go on time. And we kind of have that team culture of we're going to get better each day, no matter what the circumstances are.
Also to add on to that, I think outside of the wrestling cage, we also are a family on campus, whether that means eating together in the dining hall, just being there for each other when one of our teammates needs support. And I think that most definitely is derived from the culture Nick was talking about us when we get in the cage, working hard and having that shared struggle that we go through and continuing to push ourselves. I think it flows into other parts of our lives as well, outside of just wrestling.
All right, we'll keep it with Nick and Clay for the next question. But can you guys talk about being a student athlete at Episcopal High School and how you balance, practice and meets times with study hall and your academic work and your social lives? What is that like for you in terms of keeping that balance?
Yeah, well, I think definitely it's a good point. And Coach Castle he'll emphasize that academics come first, and we're student athletes, and so we'll make sure to prioritize that. And that's more of a time management thing for us. You got to take advantage of your free time and your free periods that you have to make sure that we can show up to practice on time and get some good work in.
Also, wrestling is a pretty big time commitment, especially wrestling on the varsity team. If you're familiar with like the sport of wrestling, you know that tournaments can last all day. Sometimes they can last for a weekend. So being able to make sure that if you have a big test on Monday, knowing that in the week before you may not have your weekend, how you would not in the season to study. And if you are not able to do that, to bring your books. You'll see a lot of the wrestlers sometimes will be in the stands doing homework if we're not directly watching the matches during the tournament. And I also think that idea of like getting your stuff done, as Nick said, and being able to say, I'm a student athlete. So Coach Castle, I might be like 10 minutes late to practice because I have to be in tutorial. I would say he's really understanding about that as well.
Right. Thanks, guys. Coach Castle, can you talk a little bit about, and you touched on it a little bit in your initial talk and the success that you've had bringing along relative beginners to wrestling. And I know you have some students that arrive on campus that have had no experience as a wrestler that have gone on to be state runner champions and to go on to wrestle in college. And then also how, you're able to work with those wrestlers that are coming in with quite a bit of experience.
Yeah, I think with regard to beginners to the sport, I think part of it is we make sure that we put them in the best possible positions to get better, both as a practice wrestler but also in competitions. So we're very intentional about scheduling our first year wrestlers, the appropriate types of competitions. And every now and again we get somebody who is a first year wrestler, finds themselves actually, on the varsity, but there we still make sure that they're competing in an appropriate way. And I do feel like to reiterate what I was saying before, I think that our approach to technique is we really do try and keep things simple from the standpoint of teaching what I'll consider to be high percentage moves. Moves I think that work against every level of competition when you get them nailed down. And I think by focusing on a really high percentage type of technique, our wrestlers are able to become, successful when they work at it, when they learn the technique and really do the things that it takes to own that technique. I think our wrestlers are able to be successful, certainly maybe, on the JV in the first year, but oftentimes I feel like when somebody's been in the room for 2 years in their second year, oftentimes they're finding themselves as a competitive varsity wrestler because we really do zero in on the technique. Something else that we've done in the past is we encourage wrestlers to go to camps in the summer and do a little bit of work in the off season so that they are really, sharpening the saw, so to speak, throughout the year. And in terms of our higher level wrestlers, we do have opportunities and give them opportunities to work during the off season. We have a local wrestling club that we host here on Sundays so that for wrestlers who are interested in working in the off season, they don't even have to go off campus to do that. It happens right here on campus. And then we also have some wrestlers who will pursue, doing the club thing a little bit more frequently, doing what it takes to go off campus during the week if that's what they choose to do. So I really do feel like over the years I've really developed a program that enables the beginners to improve at an appropriate rate, but also takes people who have high aspirations and puts them in the position where they can get better and reach their goals.
Clay and Nick, what is it like wrestling in the cage? It's such a fun place to watch a wrestling meet. Can you talk a little bit about that atmosphere?
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. It's a great place. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I've ever experienced, to be honest, especially like the Woodbury and Georgetown Prep and all our rivals when we get a lot of fans to show up and like that momentum. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's exhilarating. Also because the way like the cage is set up, especially during quad meets, your teammates are like right there next to you, like as you're on the mat wrestling. So being able to have like their energy like transverse into you as you wrestle is a really interesting and fun way to wrestle.
I love the atmosphere there. And do you guys have any like moments, traditions, something that, when you graduate, those things that you might go back to in your time as a wrestler at Episcopal?
The one that sticks out to me the most would have to be our Thanksgiving wrestling tradition. Before we leave for Thanksgiving break, we all get up around like 6 o'clock before everyone heads out and departs, and we just get one body weight circuit in with conditioning. It's pretty hard, it's difficult, but it's one of those team bonding events, and sometimes we even have alumni come back, which is really interesting because you're able to see like the line of wrestlers who have gone through Episcopal High School, and we all come back for this one event to push each other, and it's a great way to go into break.
Do you guys want to talk about how we end practice every day as well?
Yeah, definitely. So our traditional end of practice, I mean, we'll obviously have a warm down, but we acknowledge our teammates each day and like give each other hugs and shake hands and just kind of acknowledge that like we're all working hard and pushing each other and to recognize each other's hard work. It's a pretty cool thing.
Okay. And I'll just come in behind Nick on that, and it's something that frankly happened a little bit organically, where as people were cooling down and walking around after we were finished our hard workout, I started just saying, go acknowledge your workout partners and the people you worked with. And what it's evolved to is, virtually every member of the team, sort of physically and verbally acknowledges every other member of the team. And I feel like that person-to-person connection that happens at the end of every practice has really become something that's made our group really committed to one another and really close knit. And I think the fact that we do it every day and typically the other part of it that I like is typically guys will really save their workout partner, the person they work with every day, for last, and oftentimes they'll have their own little special rituals at the end of practice. But it's really a moment that I enjoy seeing at the end of each day.
I love that tradition. Clay and Nick, last question for you guys. Any advice that you would give to a prospective student who is interested in wrestling?
Yeah, I think definitely my biggest thing of advice would just be use your resources, use Coach Castle. You have all the tools to become basically the sky's the limit for you and become a great wrestler. So just work hard and buy into the program, basically.
I would say if you're hesitant about joining because maybe you've never wrestled before, I know that was me coming into freshman year. Do it, just do it. It was like one of the best decisions I made at Episcopal. And we really are a family on campus. A lot of teams are like, we're a family, but it's just a lot of talk. But in actuality, the wrestling team is one of the closest knit families on campus.
Yeah. And I will say that, Clay and Nick both, have walked the walk in their time. They're guys who've done the extra things and, gotten up at 6 a.m. during the season to work out 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 with me and done Sunday practices. So, Nick mentioned using the resources. These are two guys who've really done that and really embraced, the full measure of the program.
Coach Castle, any closing comments before we go?
Just that we've worked really hard over the years to, put the focus on improvement. And though we talk about wins and losses and we talk about win-loss records and places on the medal stand, my overall philosophy has been to get people to focus on day-to-day improvement and focus on specific areas of improvement. And that if people are focusing on what they're doing and what they're doing better and what they can be doing better, that frankly the wins and losses will take care of themselves. And that, for people who really want to learn to push themselves and really want to learn to embrace, goal setting and working hard every day, I think wrestling, and specifically wrestling at Episcopal, is a great way to do that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Coach Castle and Nick and Clay for shedding some more light on the wrestling program at Episcopal. I know that, being around the program over the years and watching your meets, that the culture, that family feel and just the work that you guys put in is amazing. So if for the prospective students out there or parents, if you do have more questions about the wrestling program, you can reach out to Coach Castle or Clay and Nick, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer those questions. But thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.